Have you seen this lady? Chances are, if you've browsed the web during the past few months or years, you may have seen this lady without noticing her. When she is not welcoming immigrants to Canada or Uruguay, she's selling carpets in New York or looking for love in Paris. She appeared in a McDonald's commercial in China and a shoe commercial in France. She may be a worldwide celebrity. But there's just one thing, little thing wrong with all of this. She did none of those things. This lady is a person named Shabana, Dr. Shabana. She's a social activist worker belonging to South Africa. Shabnam Khan. And she went to a picnic a few years ago with a few of her friends, where a photographer offered to take their picture, and in return of taking their picture, he offered to give them professional quality portraits. Someone made a mention of an art project, so they all assumed that perhaps the photographer was building up his portfolio. And so they signed the dotted line without really reading the paper. They had actually signed their life away, because in the subsequent months and years, this lady's photo started appearing everywhere, as you can see, with different names, different identities. And the worst part is, all of it, everything was perfectly legal. Someone might be doing the same or worse to your photo right now. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, today my presentation will focus on the lack of privacy that we have in our lives, as well as the steps that we can do to minimize the damage. Each one of us is a line item in Nadra's database. Each one of us is a line item in FBR's database. Our bank accounts are being tracked by banks all over the world. Don't think that just because you bank with a particular bank, your information is safe with them. No. It's already out there for anyone to see. Your shopping habits, your browsing habits, your TV viewing habits. Your Wi-Fi is broadcasting your location all the time. And everything is being tracked. Everything is being monitored. And none of us is careful enough to present ourselves online in the best possible light, because freedom of speech, right? What's the result? Between 10 to 20 bloggers disappear in Pakistan every year. Let's not go into the reasons. But freedom of speech. Billions of us have been exposed to data breaches over the years. This is not an exaggeration, as you'll see shortly. An entire election in the USA was said to have been influenced by targeted marketing, and from an outside country. We all know very well about that scandal. Before we move further, let's see what happens on the internet in 1 minute. 3.7 million Google searches, 2.4 million Snapchat photos, 38 million WhatsApp messages, 481,000 tweets, and most importantly, 973,000 or just short of 1 million logins on Facebook. We gladly hand over ourselves to the machines, and the machines compile and they process and they analyze. The machines have grown to know better about us than what we do about ourselves. And you know what? Those machines will hand over that data to anyone who asks nicely enough. Say goodbye to the concept of privacy. If you've interacted with anything, any entity that ever went online, your data is out there. Just look at these data breaches over the past 10 years and note one particular long line, Yahoo, 3 billion users. I didn't even know that 3 billion people used Yahoo. I am one of the users, unfortunate. So virtually, that number alone is enough, and if you add up all the others, it's a nightmare. So yes, your data is out there. Now what you can do is control it. First of all, what these companies do with the data: targeted advertising, track you, trace you, worldwide information super entities such as YouTube, maps, creation of content using images as we saw in that example, tailoring of content to user preferences and market research. So most of these objects are innocent enough and they might even benefit you, but at what cost? This is what we should avoid doing online. Expressing political or religious opinions that sound out of the ordinary, access the dark web and iffy websites, uploading photos of us and our family on social media networks, allowing web browsers to track our browsing habits, and allowing our phones to track our location. But there are certain things that we can do online while remaining reasonably secure. For example, using secure cloud services, using the web to stay in touch with each other, using online banking, we all do that, with sufficient safeguards, using cloud-based services to upload photos such as Google Photos or Apple Photos. These are reasonably secure. They give you various security levels. Browse the web using firewalls and VPNs because that's the prerequisite of you remaining private. Set up email filters. Please don't click on any email without thinking. In conclusion, I would say that forget about privacy, it's gone. What we can do is minimize the damage and not let any surveilling entities to track us down. Toastmaster.
Question answers?
Yeah, there's a 2-minute question answer session. So anybody who has a question, they are most welcome.
Credit to evaluator.
Yeah.
Credit to evaluator.
Yes. Yes.
Are there sufficient proofs that this data is being used by government agencies, or is it just another controversy theory?
Yes, I can see where you're coming from. Yes, it may sound like paranoia, it may sound like a conspiracy theory, but there's no reason to believe that this data is not being used by governments because they're paying various agencies for it. And it has been very public over the past few years. In our country, I don't know to what extent someone is using them or if someone is even smart or savvy enough to use this data and track this data. But in the US, in the Western world, there have been very public cases about Apples and Googles handing over this data to their governments.
If you allow me to add,
Sure.
there is an act which came from J.W. Bush. It's called the Patriot Act, in which they can access anyone's servers and any information
Exactly.
for their homeland security purposes.
Exactly.
So the proofs are there.
So this word security, this is actually the magic key that can erase all of your human rights. I'm not being melodramatic here. This has happened. This has been happening in our country, and now this is happening worldwide.
I have observed at times that when you download or install certain applications from Play Store,
Yes.
they ask you, once you do, then they ask you certain options. Would you allow the application to upload or tag up your photos,
Yes.
your contacts,
Yes.
your addresses, everything? Then if you don't allow, then can you shed some light? Should we allow the applications,
Well,
or otherwise they won't be working with us the way we want them
I
to?
understand your point. First of all, no good app developer would require permissions from you that are not strictly necessary for the app. So for example, if WhatsApp requires access to the camera, access to the net, that's obvious. But for example, if your alarm clock requires access to your camera, that's dubious. And if you read the app description carefully, the developer should be telling you why they need certain permissions. So if you have any doubt, just don't allow, click on don't allow, and the app should work just fine. If it doesn't, it's not worth it.
I have a question. Is there any real solution for this? I mean, if you're using a cell phone, it will run out of memory no matter what you do. So, I mean, is there a real world way around this that you don't have to use apps? I mean, Google Maps and these things. I mean,
I just listed the solution.
yeah, they're extremely convenient.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. So it's a compromise that you have to reach, what these services are worth to you versus what you are willing to put up online. So you should only put up stuff online that you are extremely comfortable with. So for example, if you go from your home to office and office to home every day, there's no harm if anyone's tracking that activity. And if you get traffic information in return of that, no harm done. Again, it's your call. Okay, the last question. And please don't let this count towards my project time because these are the Q&A times.
I would like to ask, so you talked about privacy and security that is being breached through online mediums. What about the cyber security divisions that have been developing in various governments? Could you shed some light on that and how those are dealing and registering all these issues that people face? Could you tell us something about that?
Well, those cyber security divisions, I don't have a great deal of knowledge about them, but the government has one thing on their side, and that is law. So they can legislate any breach of privacy into existence. And these cyber security divisions